It was at Clear Lake Regional Hospital on, what was it, December 15th?
Yes.
December 15th. I was working the night shift. And I remember I see this guy dressed up in his Acadian uniform, and he comes and he just kind of says, well, I'm here to pick up a patient. So I'm like, okay, well, let me get the nurse. I get the nurse for him. I go about doing what I have to do with one of my patients, and I see Omar coming. He's coming down the hall, and there's another nurse that's standing next to me, and I'm like, hey, Ashley, I'm like, what do you think? You know, what do you think about this guy? And she's like, oh, well, he's good looking, this and that. So I had been having a bad night that night. So I was just like, my mood was like, I don't care. I'm going to do whatever I want. Okay. So I whistled at Omar, but he didn't turn around. I whistled right when he was walking in with the nurse to the room. I didn't know if he heard me or anything. It didn't seem like he did. So after that, he came out of the room, and I'm standing on the doorway. And I'm like, you're handsome. He passes me up, and he takes like 2 more steps, and I'm like, you're handsome. He turns around and he's like, excuse me, what? And so I go again. I said, you're good looking. And then he turns his full body towards me, and he's like, what? And I said, you're good looking. I'm just like, why do I have to repeat it so many times? But okay. So, he starts walking to me, and he's like, why would you say that? And I'm like, because you're good looking. And he was going to say something. And at that moment, the nurse came out of the room, and she's like, oh, the patient's ready to go. So Omar goes, gets the patient ready. And then I see the nurse and the patient coming out of the room. And then Omar has the wheelchair bringing the patient out. And I just look at him still, just stare at him, cock one eyebrow, and give him just one, and give him a little smirk. And my thinking was, okay, so is he gonna get my number? Is he not? What am I gonna do if he doesn't? Should I be like, hey, so can I get your number? Well, what's up?
And then all of a sudden I stop and right next to her, and I'm like, hey,
can I get your number so I can hit you up later?
Wait, what did I say?
Can I get your number so I can hit you up later?
Okay, and I was like, okay, can I get your number so I can hit you up later? And then all she does is just kind of like smiles. She has a big smile, and she's like, sure. And then we interchange numbers. At the same time, I'm with the patient, and they're like going like, what's going on here? But I still did it, and I was like, okay, I'll hit you up later. And I kept on walking. A few minutes later, I'll call you just to make sure that that's your phone number, and you answer right away. And then after that, it's non-stop texting and talking. Okay. So a few days later, after we met, I asked her if she wanted to go on a date with me. I'll take her out to eat. And she said, sure, where are we gonna go? And I told her, we're gonna go to a taco truck. And she looks at me, and she just laughs. She's like, are you serious? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm serious. And he's like, oh, okay, sure. Just kind of going along with it. But in reality, I told her, hey, a little bit after that, I told her, I'm taking you to a pizza place. It's a brand new, and it's really good. And she's like, oh, okay, I love pizza. So I pick her up the day afterwards around 7 o'clock. And I'm on the way over there. I'm making sure, everything is fine. I have my mints with me. I have my hair all combed. I'm a little bit nervous, but I feel confident. So I drive to her house, and then I show up there. And then I call her, or I text her, and I tell her, hey, I'm here to pick you up for our date. And she's like, okay, I'll be out in a minute. And all the lights in her house are really dark, and then I think I see the blinds moving in a little bit. But soon after she comes out and she's looking beautiful. So I get out of the car and I help her in, and we take off. It's about a 30-minute drive. And then shortly after we reach Mod's Pizza. And it's the first time that she goes there. And you were really surprised? Because you never been there before? So we get there and then I tell her, hey, you can have anything that you want. You can have all kind of meat if you want on your pizza. You can have all kind of vegetables. You can put anything that you want. Here, I'll show you mine. I put everything in here. And then it's like, oh, what are you going to put on yours? And she's like, just pepperoni. That's it. And I'm like, that's it? That's all you like? Pepperoni?
Okay, so our first date was Mod's Pizza. He picked me up. It's so funny because he picked me up from my parents' house. And I told my parents, my family, about him. And my sister came over to my mom's house that day. And they made me turn on the tracking on my phone. They needed Omar's name, where he worked, what kind of car he drove, so that they could know I was okay, because it's not something I ever did. Like just going out on a date with some random guy my family never met, it's just something that didn't happen. So they were very overprotective. I think my mom and my sister said that whenever we were leaving, there's a window that faces out to the street. Well, they were both peeking through there. They had the lights off, so we couldn't see. But he picked me up. We went to Mod's Pizza in Pearland. It was nice. I was too nervous to eat, but he did. He just like pigged out on that pizza.
Shortly after we're done eating, we go over to movie, to Cinemark. So we're here at the movies, and we were watching the previews, and we're trying to see, like, you know, what kind of movies out there. And she's standing next to me, and I'm like, should I hold her hand? Should I go for it? Is she gonna like slap me if I hold her hand? Or like, I'm just thinking, what's going through her head? What would she do? Or should I go for it? Fortunately, that didn't happen. She didn't slap my face, and we held hand, and she put her head on my shoulder, and we had a really awesome time at the movies. She's at work that day, and she happened to leave her cell phone at her house. So I told her, as a clever idea, I was like, let me go to your house and I'll pick up your phone. But in reality, I was going to her house. I was really going to pick up her phone, but at the same time, I was going to ask her parents for her hand in marriage that same day. So I get to her house, and my heart is beating. I'm shaking, and I knock on her door, and then her parents open the door, and they're like, okay, you're usually with Sabrina, and you came here by yourself, but okay, sure, come on in. And we talk, you know, how you doing and all that stuff, and at that point I was really nervous. I didn't know if their parents, how they were gonna react. I didn't know if her mom or dad were gonna say no. I didn't know if Mr. Sparso was gonna pin me up against the wall and tell me to get out of the house. But shortly after, I tell them, Mr. and Mrs. Sparso, could y'all have a seat? I want to have a conversation with you guys. And they're like, okay, sure. What's going on? And I'm like, well, I've been dating your daughter for almost 8 months, and I really love her, and she makes me really happy. She completes my life. And at that point, I think her parents knew what was going on, because you could tell in their face that they were really happy. And shortly after, I asked her mom and dad if I could have Sabrina's hand in marriage. So it was exciting. We were taking a family trip with her family, and we went to Panama Beach, Florida, and it was that day that I asked her to be my wife. It was exactly 8 months from the day that we first met. And it was in the middle of the vacation, and we decided to take a walk from the motel, and we were just walking there. I had my backpack on, and everybody kept asking, "Why do you have a backpack on? Why didn't you leave it at the motel?" And I was just like, "Oh, just have an extra backpack." But in reality, I have my ring inside the backpack. So when we were at the dock, at one point we kind of split up. So Brina stayed behind with her siblings, and I went over just a little further, walking down the stores with her parents. And I asked her parents, it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna ask her to be my wife today. You know, can you guys, would you mind recording this?" And they were like, "Today? Here?" And then I was like, "Yep, right now." And they were like, "Oh, okay. We'll definitely, we'll tell everybody." And then shortly after, we all kind of meet up at the dock again. And I see that everybody, just her brother and sister and her mom, they all have their phone out already. So at that point, I was like, okay, this is happening right here where I wanted to, and right now. So we're just walking there, and then I suddenly stop, and I turn around. I turn Sabrina around, and I tell her, "Hey, baby, we've been dating for 8 months already." And at that point, I started kind of like stuttering, a lot of shaking. And I might have teared up a little bit. And I told her, "We've been dating for 8 months today, and you are the love of my life, and you make me really, really happy." And then at that point, I got down on one knee and asked her, "Would you be my wife?"
All of a sudden, I feel him grab my hand, and he's like, "So I want to talk to you." And my mind is like, "Really? You want to talk to me right now in front of my family?" You know, I just figured something was wrong with him, so he's gonna tell me. So I'm like, "Oh, right now? Like, let's talk about it later," you know? But I'm like, okay, whatever. So I turn around, and then he starts telling me, you know, about loving me and, you know, us getting married and everything. And then he gets down on one knee. And I mean, this whole time I'm just like, wait a second, what? So I turn and look at my mom and my sister, and my sister is like crying. My mom is tearing up. My other sister Donna is just bawling. and I'm like, wait, this is really happening. And I see Omar, and he's like tearing up, right? And I'm like, I sometimes start laughing when I'm nervous. So I had my hand over my mouth, and I was so happy, but I couldn't stop. I was like letting out little giggles here and there, and I'm like, oh my God, stop laughing. You know, don't laugh. He's asking you to marry him. So, you know, I say yes, and yeah, there's clapping all around us, and I'm just like, well, this was not expected. Like, this was not. And then my family's congratulating us, and it was a really happy moment. It was one of the best. It was one of the best, yeah.